Hey there, science fans. Labs are like giant playgrounds for discovery, but safety comes first. Imagine you're working on a cool experiment and something unexpected happens. That's where crisis management swoops in to save the day. Before we even put on our lab coats, we need to be detectives and identify potential hazards. This is called a risk assessment. We look around the lab and ask ourselves, what could possibly go wrong here? Are we working with flammable liquids? Do we have sharp tools or heavy equipment? Is there a chance of spills or electrical problems? By identifying these risks, we can take steps to minimize them. Once we know the risks, we can find ways to make things safer. Maybe we need to store certain chemicals separately or use safety equipment like fume hoods or protective gloves. Remember, prevention is always better than a cure. Okay, so we've identified the risks, but what happens if something actually goes wrong? That's where contingency plans come in. These are like our backup plans, ready to go in case of an emergency. Let's say there's a small fire in the lab. Do we know where the fire extinguisher is? Do we know how to use it? A good contingency plan will have all this information and more. Contingency plans should cover all sorts of emergencies, from spills to injuries to power outages. Having these plans in place can mean the difference between a minor mishap and a major disaster. Knowing what to do in an emergency is important, but it's even more important to practice. That's why regular staff training is crucial. We need to make sure everyone in the lab knows their role and can react quickly and calmly in a crisis. Think of it like a fire drill. We don't just read about fire drills, we actually practice them so we know exactly what to do if the alarm goes off. The same goes for lab emergencies. Regular training sessions should cover everything from first aid and CPR to how to use safety equipment and what to do in case of a chemical spill. Remember, practice makes perfect, especially when it comes to safety. Section 5, Troubleshooting 101, Common Lab Issues. Now, let's talk about some everyday lab hiccups. These might not be full-blown emergencies, but they can still slow us down if we don't know how to handle them. Imagine you're trying to calibrate a sensitive instrument, but it's just not cooperating, or maybe your experiment isn't working as expected. Instead of panicking, we can use our problem-solving skills. Start by double-checking your work. Are all the instruments turned on correctly? Did you follow the protocol exactly? Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. And if you're still stuck, don't hesitate to ask for help from a colleague or supervisor. Section 6, Chemical Cautions, Handling Hazardous Materials. Chemicals are like the building blocks of many cool experiments, but some of them can be dangerous if not handled properly. That's why we always treat them with respect and follow safety guidelines. Always wear appropriate personal protective equipment or PPE when handling chemicals like gloves, goggles, and a lab coat. Never smell or taste any chemical directly. That's what fume hoods are for. Make sure all chemicals are clearly labeled and stored properly. And if you're ever unsure about how to handle a particular chemical, always consult the safety data sheet or SDS or ask a supervisor. Section 7, First Aid Essentials, Be Prepared. Accidents can happen, even in the safest labs. That's why it's essential to have a well-stocked first aid kit readily available and to know how to use it. A basic lab first aid kit should include things like bandages, antiseptic wipes, gauze pads, pain relievers, and eye wash solution. It's also a good idea to have a list of emergency contact numbers posted nearby. Remember, in case of a serious injury, always call for help immediately. Your priority is to ensure everyone's safety. Section 8. Staying informed, updates and regulations. Science is constantly evolving and so are safety regulations. That's why it's important to stay updated on the latest safety protocols and guidelines. Attend safety training sessions regularly, read safety bulletins, and familiarize yourself with any new equipment or procedures. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to safety. By staying informed and proactive, we can create a safe and productive lab environment where everyone can thrive and make amazing discoveries. Section 9. Conclusion. Safety first, science always. So, there you have it, science fans. Mastering crisis management in the lab is all about being prepared, staying alert, and knowing how to react quickly and effectively when the unexpected happens. Remember, safety isn't just a set of rules, it's a mindset. By incorporating safety into everything we do in the lab, we can focus on what we do best. Exploring the wonders of science. Now go forth and experiment, but always remember, safety first, science always.